Nobody cares about your motivation, it dies. Every time. That's the truth you keep trying to outrun. You wake up fired up. Big plans, big talk. New life starting Monday, then Monday comes, you're tired, mood is off. Weather is bad. Someone said something. Something hurt. Something distracted you. And just like that, the fire is gone. Again. You don't have a motivation problem. You have a weakness for comfort. That's why you're still stuck. The world doesn't reward hype. It rewards repetition. Cold, boring, uncelebrated repetition. The kind nobody claps for. The kind nobody sees. The kind that feels pointless until it isn't. You think power looks like intensity. It doesn't. Power looks like showing up when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it. Anyone can act strong when they feel strong. That's not power. That's convenience. Real power shows up tired, shows up heartbroken, shows up bored, shows up when the mind whispers, skip today, and answers, no. That's consistency, and consistency is rare because it's painful. It's waking up with doubt sitting on your chest like weight. It's moving anyway. It's working while your emotions throw a tantrum. It's keeping promises to yourself when nobody would know if you broke them. That's the battlefield, not the world, you. Your feelings are not loyal. They switch sides daily. One day they're with you. Next day they betray you. So if your actions depend on how you feel, you've already lost the war. Consistency is emotional independence. You move whether you feel confident or insecure, whether you feel inspired or empty, whether you feel loved or alone, especially when you feel alone. Because loneliness is where most people quit. No applause, no support, no one checking in, just silence. And your mind saying, what's the point? That's the test. Most people fail it. That's why most people stay average. They work when it's exciting. Stop when it's dull. Start again when guilt hits. Stop again when life feels heavy and collapse. Sprints, crashes, regret. Repeat. That pattern feels productive. It's not. It's addiction to emotional highs. Consistency is different. It's almost invisible. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It doesn't post quotes. It doesn't announce big moves. It just moves. Daily, quietly, like a machine that doesn't care about mood. You think that sounds boring. It is. And that's why it works. Because while you're chasing excitement, someone else is stacking days. While you're waiting to feel ready, someone else is building skill. While you're overthinking, someone else is doing the reps. Years pass. Talented, lucky, built different. No, they were just there. Every day you weren't. Consistency is not about intensity. It's about identity. It's the moment you stop negotiating with yourself. No more, I'll do it later. No more, just today off. No more emotional debates in your head like you're in court defending laziness. You said you would, so you do. That's a simple, brutal, non-negotiable. That's why it's a superpower. Because almost nobody can do it long term. People can suffer for a week, grind for a month, push for 90 days, but years in silence, without validation. That's where the weak peel off. Life doesn't break people with big disasters. It breaks them with small daily discomforts, tiny resistances, the alarm, the extra rep, the hard conversation, the discipline to stop, the discipline to start, a death by 1,000 excuses. Consistency is how you refuse to die that way. It's not sexy. It doesn't look cool. It looks like a person doing the same thing again and again and again, even when progress is invisible, even when results are delayed, even when doubt is loud. Especially when doubt is loud, because doubt is part of the process. Boredom is part of the process. Feeling behind is part of the process. Feeling like quitting is part of the process. The difference. Consistent people don't treat those feelings as signals to stop. They treat them as background noise. They don't ask, "Do I feel like it?" They ask, "Did I say I willed?" That question builds something dangerous inside a person. Self-trust. Every time you follow through, you send a message to your mind. My word means something. Every time you quit on yourself, you send another message. I can't be trusted. Over time, that becomes identity. You wonder why you hesitate, why you doubt yourself, why you overthink every move. Because deep down, you know your own history. You know how often you've abandoned yourself. Consistency rebuilds that trust, brick by brick, day by day. And once you trust yourself, fear loses its grip. Because now you know, even if it's hard, even if it's slow, even if you fall, you'll be back tomorrow. And the next day. And the next. That makes you dangerous. Not because you're the most talented. Not because you're the smartest. But because you don't disappear. Most people vanish the moment it gets uncomfortable. They ghost their goals. They disappear from their own potential. Consistency is refusing to disappear. It's loyalty to your future self. A version of you that doesn't exist yet, but is waiting on your discipline today. Every skipped day is betrayal. Every kept promise is fuel. You say you want a different life, stronger body, sharper mind, more money, more control, less chaos. But you keep relying on motivation, the most unstable force in your life. That's like building a house on water. Consistency is concrete. It doesn't care about storms. It doesn't care about mood swings. It doesn't care about heartbreak, bad sleep, or rough days. It just does what it does. Every day, without drama, you want to feel powerful. Stop chasing feelings. Start building proof. Proof comes from repetition. Repetition builds skill. Skill builds confidence. Confidence builds presence. Presence builds power. That chain starts with one boring decision repeated until it becomes who you are, not what you try. Who you are. When consistency becomes identity, discipline stops feeling like punishment. It becomes default. Like brushing your teeth. You don't debate it. You don't hype yourself up. When you just do it, that's freedom. Freedom from your own excuses. Freedom from emotional chaos. Freedom from starting over every month because you couldn't hold the line. Most people are tired not because they work hard. They're tired because they keep restarting. Restarting drains the soul. Consistency conserves energy. No drama, no mental negotiations, just execution. You think you need more motivation. You need fewer options. A decision made once, followed daily. That's power, and it doesn't announce itself. It shows in posture, in calm, bull, in the way a person doesn't panic when things get hard. Because hard is familiar. Bull, they've trained in discomfort. Consistency is training in discomfort. Every time you act despite resistance, you thicken your mind. Pain tolerance rises. Emotional noise fades. You stop being controlled by temporary states. You become stable. In a world addicted to instant results and emotional reactions, stability is terrifying. That's the real superpower. Not speed, not hype, not talent. The ability to do the same necessary thing for years without needing applause. That's how empires are built. People, that's how bodies change. That's how skills become elite. That's how people escape the life they say they hate. One day at a time. When it's exciting. When it's dull. When it hurts. When it doesn't. No drama, no speeches, just work. And the day you understand this, civilized people really understand it, is the day you stop waiting to feel ready and start becoming inevitable. Good. Because this is where most people look away. You like the idea of consistency. You hate the reality of it. The reality is slow, repetitive, thankless. It exposes you to yourself with nowhere to hide. No bursts of hype, no dramatic turning points, just you, your excuses, and the decision to move anyway. That's why people avoid it. Not because it's hard physically, because it's confronting mentally. Consistency forces you to see the gap between who you pretend to be and who you actually are. You say you're disciplined, but discipline doesn't exist in statements. It exists in patterns. Miss enough days and the truth becomes obvious. Not to the world, to you. That's uncomfortable. So you chase intensity instead. You go all in for a week. Destroy yourself in the gym. Work 12-hour days. Cut everything off, then burn out. Collapse, disappear. You call it rest. It's not rest. It's recovery from emotional overexertion. You were running on emotion, not structure. Emotion is a drug. It gives you a rush, makes you feel unstoppable. But like any drug, it crashes. And when it crashes, you're weaker than before. Consistency doesn't give you a high, it gives you control. Control is quieter, but it lasts. The psychology behind quitting is simple. Your brain is wired to avoid discomfort and seek immediate reward. Consistency offers neither. It offers delayed results and repeated discomfort. So your brain starts negotiating. Skip today. You deserve it. Tomorrow will be better. You're too stressed. You need the right mood. Just this once. Those thoughts don't sound dangerous. That's why they win. Quitting rarely looks like failure. It looks like reasonable compromise. One skipped workout, one missed study session, one day off the plan. Nothing dramatic. But consistency is a chain. Break it enough times, and you don't have a chain anymore. You have fragments. You don't fail in one moment. You drift. Drifting feels harmless. That's the trap. Every time you give in to short-term comfort, you strengthen the identity of someone who quits when things feel heavy. Neural pathways deepen. Your brain learns the pattern discomfort appears. Escape. People do that long enough and quitting becomes automatic. That's why starting feels harder each time. You're not just fighting laziness. You're fighting conditioning. Consistency rewires that pull. When you act despite resistance, you create a new pathway. Discomfort appears action anyway. At first, it feels forced, awkward, like you're dragging yourself. That's normal. You're building a new identity against years of evidence to the contrary. Identity change is violent, internally, because the old you doesn't die quietly. The old you argues, rationalizes, reminds you of past failures, tells you this effort is pointless, says, this isn't who we are. And for a long time, it's right. You are not consistent yet. Consistency starts as an act. Then it becomes a habit. Then it becomes identity. But the middle stage, habit formation, is where most people quit. Because results still don't match effort. You've been consistent for 2 weeks. Nothing changed. A month, still average. 2 months, still not where you want to be. The mind starts screaming, this isn't working. What it really means is, this isn't fast. You've been conditioned by instant everything. Instant food, instant entertainment, instant validation. But meaningful change operates on a different timeline. One that doesn't care about your impatience. Consistency is a long-term relationship with effort, not a short-term transaction. You don't pay once and get results. You pay daily, up front, with no guarantee of when the reward shows up. That uncertainty breaks weak commitment. Strong commitment says, I'll do this whether I see results today or not. That's faith in process over emotion. Logic over impulse. Most people are ruled by impulse. Impulse says sleep more, scroll more, eat more, avoid the hard thing. And every time you obey impulse, you shrink a little. Self-respect erodes. You feel it, even if you don't say it. That's why inconsistency feels heavy. It's not just missed progress. It's internal disappointment stacking up, promises made, promises broken, again and again. Eventually, you stop setting big goals, not because you lack dreams, because you don't trust yourself to follow through. So you play small, safer, less painful. Consistency is how you earn the right to dream big again, because now, when you set a target, you don't rely on hope. You rely on history. You've built evidence that you show up. That evidence silences doubt. Confidence isn't built by positive thinking. It's built by kept promises. This is why consistency feels lonely. When you stop living by emotion, you separate from people who do. They'll say you're too serious, too rigid, too obsessed, because your structure exposes their lack of it. You stop relating to constant excuses, to dramatic mood swings controlling behavior, to endless talk with no action. You become quieter, more focused, less reactive. That can feel isolating. But understand this: loneliness in discipline is temporary. Regret from wasted years is permanent. Choose your pain. The pain of doing what you said you would, or the pain of watching time pass while you stay the same. Time will pass either way. Consistency is also brutal because it removes fantasy. No more imagining the future version of you as some heroic figure who suddenly transforms. You face the truth that person is built by small, unimpressive actions repeated thousands of times. No miracle moment, no cinematic turnaround. Just Tuesday again. But that's also where the power is. Because if greatness is built from ordinary days, then every day is an opportunity to build it. You're not waiting for the perfect situation. You're using the one you have. That mindset shifts you from victim to builder. Victims wait for better conditions. Builders work with current ones. Consistency says, this is enough to start. Even if it's messy. Even if it's imperfect. Even if you're tired. Especially if you're tired. Anyone can perform when everything aligns. Only a few can execute when life feels heavy. That's why consistency forges mental toughness. You learn that feelings pass. That resistance fades after you begin. That most of the pain is in anticipation, not action. So you stop fearing the work, and once you stop fearing it, you become hard to stop. Good. Because now we get to the part that changes everything. Consistency isn't just about surviving the grind. It's about what the grind turns you into. At first, you force yourself to act. Then something shifts. The resistance that once felt like a wall becomes background noise. The work that felt heavy becomes routine. The chaos in your head starts to quiet down. Not because life got easier, because you got stronger. Consistency hardens you in ways motivation never could. Motivation makes you emotional. Consistency makes you stable. Motivation spikes your energy. Consistency raises your baseline. Your baseline determines your life. When your baseline is low, everything feels hard. Basic discipline feels heroic. Small setbacks feel like disasters. Your mood controls your actions. You're fragile. Consistency raises that baseline. Now, what used to break you barely moves you. A bad day doesn't end the week. A mistake doesn't end the plan. You don't spiral every time something goes wrong. You adjust. You continue. That's power, not loud power, not flashy power. Quiet power, the kind people feel when they stand near you. The kind that shows in your eyes, in the way you don't rush, don't panic, don't overreact. These, because you've been through resistance thousands of times, you've sat in discomfort and kept moving. Life stops feeling like an emergency. You become grounded. Consistency also changes how you see yourself. You stop identifying as someone trying to improve. You become someone who executes. That difference is massive. Trying leaves room for excuses. I tried means I gave effort. Harder execution means the task gets done regardless of internal drama. When you become someone who executes yourself, image upgrades. You don't need to hype yourself up with affirmations. You have proof. Stacks of it. Days you didn't want to show up but did. Nights you were tired but followed through. Moments you could have quit but didn't. That proof becomes unshakable confidence. Now, when a bigger challenge appears, you don't ask, "Can I do this?" You ask, "What's the process?" Because you understand everything breaks down into repeated actions over time. That's when life opens. Opportunities start looking less intimidating. Risks feel calculated instead of terrifying. You trust your ability to outlast difficulty. And in a world where most people quit early, the one who lasts wins more than they should. Consistency bends probability in your favor. You don't need every move to be perfect. You just need enough moves over enough time. Volume beats bursts. Longevity beats talent without discipline. This is where the revenge part shows up. Not revenge against people. Revenge against your old limits. The version of you that procrastinated, that doubted, that quit, that hid, that said, maybe someday. Consistency kills that version slowly. Day by day, you prove them wrong. The past loses its grip. You're no longer defined by what you failed at before. You're defined by what you do now. Repeatedly, relentlessly. That's transformation, not a new personality, not fake positivity, a new standard. Your standard becomes, I do what I said I would do, whether anyone watches or not, whether it feels good or not, whether progress is visible or not. That standard bleeds into everything. Your work improves because you don't cut corners. Your body changes because you don't skip. Your finances improve because you don't act on impulse. Your relationships improve because you show up consistently, not only when it's convenient. Your whole life stabilizes. Most chaos in people's lives comes from inconsistency, inconsistent effort, inconsistent discipline, inconsistent boundaries, inconsistent focus. So results are unstable. Emotions are unstable. Identity is unstable. Consistency removes variables. It simplifies life. Fewer decisions, fewer internal arguments. You already know what you're going to do. You decided long ago. Now you just follow the code. That code becomes your armor. When distractions come, you don't get pulled far. When setbacks hit, you don't fall apart. Because your system is stronger than your mood. That's ultimate power. Not controlling the world. Controlling your actions within it. Once you have that, nobody can really stop you. They can delay you. They can make things harder, but they can't make you quit. And if you don't quit, time becomes your ally. Time plus consistency is unstoppable. Years of average effort won't change much. Years of consistent effort will make you unrecognizable. People will call it a glow up, a comeback, a transformation. You'll know the truth. It was Tuesdays. It was the days you didn't post about people, the days you didn't feel like it, the days nothing exciting happened, but you still did the work. That's where the new you was built. And here's the final shift. Consistency stops feeling like discipline and starts feeling like self-respect. Skipping used to feel like relief. Now it feels wrong because you value yourself too much to betray your own word. You understand that every action is a vote for the person you're becoming. So you vote carefully, daily. You don't need to dominate the world. You just need to dominate your habits. The world adjusts after that. This is why consistency is the only real superpower. It doesn't rely on talent, luck, mood, or perfect conditions. Anyone can choose it. Almost nobody does, because it's quiet, slow, repetitive. It demands humility and patience. But if you accept that price, you gain something most people never experience. Control over your direction. No more drifting. No more starting over every year. No more being a slave to how you feel that day. You become deliberate, intentional, steady, dangerous in the calmest way possible. And one day, you'll look back at the version of you who waited for motivation, who quit when it got hard, who doubted their own ability, and you won't even recognize them. Because you didn't chase power. You built it. One day at a time, long after the excitement died, long after nobody was watching. These civilized people, that's the difference between people who wish and people who become. Consistency doesn't look like a superpower until it is.